team on. This is a professional coach employed by Parliament. Your honorable colleagues sit here, they will care. So if we don't do that, we die. After when we are meeting in the committee, we enter, we stop. Does it, then goes to another committee. That's what it is. Otherwise, yes. Otherwise, you remember sitting the whole day. Thank you, Coach Bob. But it's not true that he's the one who removed them. I don't technical people.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You know, in Parliament, we have our procedures that our power is all 24 hours.
Yes.
And our power is on. So I don't know why.
Power is not on. Power is on.
Power is on.
Yes.
I don't know why you think so.
Okay, that was a break. It was part of the agenda. It was part items on the agenda. Can we give a chance to? Okay, Honorable Kahonda. You are still submitting apparently. Yes. Let's Jonathan conclude. Honorable Kahonda, you keep it short, and then we give you a chance to. We have kept here the Governor Park of Uganda for. Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will now conclude
that whereas there is a legitimate concern, therefore, that the country might be influenced, is it then now your submission that that influence should be dealt with outside the purview of sovereignty? Whether you call it a foreign restrictions bill, external influence, something like that, but not sovereignty. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have one issue for clarification.
First, introduce yourself because you came. They need to know you.
I'm a retired Captain Kahonda Donozio.
Yes.
MP in the South Mitoma District. Correct. And a member of Defense and Internal Affairs Committee. Chair, I have one point for clarification, and it goes to the two presenters, Father Oyo and Bishop Sherwada. Bishop Sherwada and Father Oyo, you are in agreement that what the government intends to cure is already catered for in the existing laws. And Father Oyo, on page 7, he highlighted them. Dr. Serwada also highlighted them. Now on page 7, Father Serwada talked about the declaration of sources of funding or reporting under clause 21. And again, on page 5, you are talking about how this clause will affect the interreligious or the faith-based organizations. We're aware that the faith-based organizations and institutions and the other civil society organizations have been receiving funding from some of the partners from outside the country. May I know what has been the practice? How has government been monitoring this? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, over to you. You may decide who comes first, who comes last. Okay, Father Oyo first. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chair. You will forgive me, I didn't write down the names of the questionnaires.
You don't mind. Yes.
But at least I have the question. First, okay. The first question was to challenge the transparency, which I talked on page 3, and the other corresponding existing. Now, for me as a scholar, my conversation is evidence-based. Unless I have evidence, then it becomes difficult for me to engage into a conversation. And 2, when we talk of transparency in terms of academia, we look forward to what? Open justice, disclosure of discovery, rule of law, due process, natural justice, freedom of information. These are very, very important. And besides that, we also look at corporate regulatory transparency, the anti-corruption integrity, and data privacy transparency. So it is something that is broader than what we say. And that's why our understanding is, if we are to engage into a conversation of engagement, there should be clear illustration of what we are talking about than picking the leaves. So that's what I can say. So in this case, the ambiguity causes a very big deficit. Question 2 was on just a comment from one of the members that the members of parliament are still here. It is true, but I would like to also to speak from the background where I come from. Some members of parliament are relatives, and some of them we know where they are right now. So in as much as some members are still here in mood A, there are also others in mood B, and that's a fact. So it can't be contested because we have evidence. Number 3, another question was, I propose that the members of parliament from the Rwenzori region should support the withdrawal or oppose the bill. If they do not oppose the bill, will I forgive them? It will depend how they do it. So, because I must hold, as a citizen, I must hold them accountable. I must ask them questions, and they should have the disposition to respond to my questions. And if they are not able, then I can forgive them, but they will take responsibility. They know the form in which the responsibility will reach out to them. Then the other question was on the issue of the sovereignty, and someone, I think one of the last questions. Here, honorable member, the issue is not about sovereignty. The issue is not about what, because the what is already defined by the Constitution, the first article of the Ugandan Constitution. But the issue now at stake is the how. That's where we are having issues. I was very happy when you enumerated the ingredients, but I was a little bit disappointed that you talked about elections, you talked about referenda, and you silently muted the participation. And the participation is what is raising a contention right now. We are saying that we are not fully engaged in participation. Give us time, give us information, and then we are able to do it. And lastly, is you asked a question whether this should be handled by people and not members of parliament, the peoples of Uganda, not in this forum. I also wanted to ask you a question. Who are the people of Uganda? Who are the people of Uganda? So because you are talking about the parliament, us, and you're talking about the people, in my opinion, we are the people. But each one of us has a role to play. And finally, I think the subset of the first question, if really there is a threat of interference or probably the money that comes here, it is true. As a behavioral scholar, I also understand there is no environment where we don't have challenges that we need to address. But our argument is for the current situation, all the provisions that are in the 8 acts that are laying open to all of us, they are able to undertake the task right now, which gives a justification for no having another law to do at this moment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Father Charles Oyo. To you, Dr. Serwada.
On a point of information, I'd like to inform Honorable Basalirwa that I started out as a pastor. I'm no longer a pastor. So I want to correct that and also help everybody know how the leaders of the interreligious are titled and called. A document is provided for here. I am an apostle.
Oh, good. Apostle Dr. Serwada.
Correct. Now, Joseph. Now, do you think there is sovereignty? Are there any other methods which would protect sovereignty? As I believe so. I believe that there is sovereignty. Sovereignty exists. Otherwise, the Constitution would not address itself to anything that was not in existence. The sovereignty we are talking about is guaranteed by the Constitution. And you rightly said that Articles 1, Articles 2, Article 2, and 3, there is no provision for Parliament to jump in and begin to play games with those three. Why? Sovereignty. The international law also guarantees the sovereignty of the people. Should anybody abrogate or come against the Constitution, there will be people who will make noise to protect that sovereignty if the people come against it. What seems to be in absence here is the teaching that we hear about but is never emphasized. Issues of nationalism, patriotism. Parliament should be at the forefront on media, everywhere, on all types of media, teaching the people on what is theirs, what their rights are, and teach sovereignty in that form. There's no teaching at all. There is no information at all. When the Chaka teachings used to happen, for us who went there and listened, you heard things concerning the nation. In fact, sovereignty was one of the biggest teachings then. Why? Because sovereignty had been abrogated, almost removed from society. So those teachings which were stopped were the antidote, were the medicine for what this seems to say. So I would say Parliament should now embark on an exercise of teaching people what their nation is about, what the nation should be about concerning. And actually the Member of Parliament correctly referred to Article 260 or 260 and says that in the area of referenda, you can do as much referendum as you want. But when it comes to Articles 1, 2, and 3, there will be no referenda. That protection is there to tell you that you can play with other things. This one, you cannot go. Secondly, I would like to address myself to what the state intends to achieve and what he thinks we should do. Aware that we've been receiving funds, he said. What has been the practice? The practice has been very simple. Any organization, any nation that wants to send funds to Uganda for any of the religious organizations we represent, sends that money to a specific account in a bank. The bank is in charge of that finance. The people responsible to sign against it or for it show up. Then they withdraw or they begin to dispense as their mandate allows them to. There has not been a problem. Plus, the FIA, they've been the vanguards, they've been the eyes, both of society and state, to look at what funds have come in. What was this money for? To build a church in Luwero. Has it been built? Yes. Has it not been built? Then internal mechanisms would work out against anybody. But it's not rampant that people can steal anything. I think this law comes to control how much comes and how it comes. The fear is uncalled for. That's what we are addressing here. Finally, in our advice, we can say Parliament must protect the sovereignty of this nation as already provided for in the Constitution of Uganda. You don't have to add much to that. A law can be made on the already existing law to address commercial transactions, criminal activities, or anything in that area. But to come and bring another law on top of others is an extension that is not necessary. I would like to finish by saying that the existing legislations in place, namely the NGO Act, the FIA, the anti-money laundering laws, business registration laws, and all of that, have taken care of this problem completely. There's no need for another law. You are only extending it for nothing. And I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I thank you. Thank you, Interreligious Council, and thank you, Father Oyo. I'll ask 3 members to escort our honorable witnesses out, and this is Honorable Sechitoreko, Honorable Mulima Mayuni, and Gilbert Olanya. Yeah, please escort our guests. And can we usher in Bank of Uganda and Financial Intelligence Authority? Thank you. We applaud you for coming and making your presentations loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bank of Uganda and Financial Intelligence Authority. Thank you. Okay, go very well. Thank you, Archbishop Odon. Clerk, can you usher in Bank of Uganda team and Financial Intelligence Authority?
Bank of Uganda will be here.
Yes. Follow in that order.
FIA. Bank of Uganda here.
FIA, yeah. Good. That's Financial Intelligence Authority. You are big stakeholders in this. That's why we invited you.
Please.
Yeah, sit. That's FIA, and that is Bank of Uganda. Yeah. Governor, and the Deputy Governor. Wow, the whole leadership is here. Yes, please, sit. Okay, very good afternoon to you, honorable colleagues. We continue our session and welcome the Governor and the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, and the Financial Intelligence Authority. Yeah, please sit. We need to know you. And these days you no longer even sign on there are no pictures, so we need to know you. It's important that, yes, I'll break the rules and ask honorable colleagues to reintroduce yourselves. They need to know the members they are dealing with. We also need to know who we are dealing with. Isn't that so important? From my extreme right, honorable colleagues, a round of introduction. Please, Honorable Margaret.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lamwaka Margaret, MP Chua East,
Chua County.
Chua East County. And a member of
Defense and Internal Affairs. Most welcome, Honorable Margaret.
Chair Captain Kahonda, retired is my name. MP Rinda South Mtoma District, member of Defense and Internal Affairs.
Most welcome, Honorable Kahonda.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Adeke Anebaju, Soroti District Woman MP.
Welcome.
Member of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee.
Most welcome, Anne.
Thank you, Chair, and our guests. Robert Sekitoleko is my name. Member of Parliament, Lamunanika County, Luwero District. a member of Legal and Parliamentary Committee.
Most welcome. Honorable Lanya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Gilbert Olanya, the Member of Parliament of Kilak South and a member of Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, good afternoon.
My name is Alex Nionsaba. I represent the people of Fumbira South Kisoro District and a member of Defense and Internal Affairs Committee.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Francis Mwizuche, Member of Parliament of West County.
Thank you, Honorable Francis.
My name is John Taylor. I represent the people of Gabula County, North Kamuli District.
Thank you.
And I'm the
Honorable
Deputy
Taylor.
Chairperson of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee.
Yeah.
My name is Zijan David Livingstone. I represent Butembe constituency in Jinja District. Dean of Independence, I sit on the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee.
Welcome, Honorable Zijan.
Chair, my name is Mseveni William.
Who did you say? You are? Honorable William Museveni, you are most welcome.
Chair, I represent people of Wekwa South Constituency in
You
the
see,
district,
yes.
and I'm
We
a
have our
member
own Museveni also.
of the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee.
Honorable William Museveni, you most welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, our guests. I'm Arnito Rauben, representing the people of Isinjiro West in Isinjiro District and a member of the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Welcome,
Thank
Honorable
you, Chair.
Nutwe. Yes.
Okay, Peter. I represent the people of Bukoli Islands in Amaingo District, a member on Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs.
Most welcome. Honorable Keyo.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Chwanka Abdallah. I represent Mukono North. I'm a member on the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Sevikali Joel, MP, Ntwetwe, Chankwanzi District, and I sit on Defense and Internal Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Odur. I represent Erute County South constituency in Lira District.
Thank you, Honorable Jonathan.
Good afternoon. My name is Abdu Katuntu. I represent Bugweri County. I'm a member of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Honorable Abdu.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen Baka Mugavi. I represent Bukoli County North in Wujiri. I chair the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs and joint chairperson of the Joint Committee.
Thank you, my comrade and co-chair. My name is Wilson Kajrenji. I represent Nyabushozi constituency in Chiruhura District. I'm also chairperson of Defense and Internal Affairs Committee and chairing this joint committee. Honorable Governor and your team, I'll give you a chance. You introduce your team and you make a presentation. For that, we are giving opportunity to all Ugandans, all stakeholders. This morning we had an opportunity that has not been the case before. We had a 1 hour presentation from Ugandans in the diaspora on Zoom, giving us their views from different countries and statistics of what they collected on each and every clause. The 11th Parliament has given opportunity to Ugandans to voice out their concerns pertaining to this bill. This is a 4th day marathon, non-stop, day to evening. And we thought that it is pertinent that we listen to Bank of Uganda because of its constitutional mandate and dealing particularly with the proposals as contained in this bill. The second presentation related to yours will be from Financial Intelligence Authority. But first, we give you a chance, introduce yourself and the team, because we have no time, make your presentation, then we go to Financial Intelligence Authority. You're most welcome to the 11th Parliament, to the Joint Committee, Defense and Internal Affairs, and Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman of the Joint Committees and the members of the two joint committees. My name is Michael Atingiego. I'm the Governor Bank of Uganda. To my immediate right is the Deputy Governor, Professor Augustus Nwagaba. And to my most immediate left is Dr. Twine, who is the Executive Director, National Payment System. Next to him is Dorothy Ochola, who is our Acting General Counsel, followed by Huntington Waswa, who is the Acting Executive Director of Supervision. And behind we have Loy Nancha and Eric Mogarura. Chair, first of all, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and share with you our thoughts on the protection of the Sovereignty Bill 2026. And we are basing our presentation on the letter that you invited us here, where you asked us to review the bill's provisions, its interaction with the existing frameworks, and the anticipated legal, economic, social, and diplomatic implications. So here we are presenting this bill, knowing that Bank of Uganda, in the fulfillment of its constitutional mandate as the primary steward of monetary and financial stability, we are submitting this technical assessment regarding the protection of the Sovereignty Bill 2026. Chairman, allow me by quoting Article 189 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which prescribes that the function and the services of that are specified in the 6th schedule of the Constitution, including banks, banking, promissory notes, currency and exchange controls, shall be the responsibility of government. And Para 3 of the 6th schedule explicitly reserves these functions for the government, while Para 11 and 12 address the foreign relations and external trade. Now, compare that with Article 162 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which, when read together with Section 4 of the Bank of Uganda Act, Chapter 54, and Section 143 of the Financial Institutions Act 2004, the government of Uganda, by establishing the central bank as a statutory body, has delegated its functions under the Constitution to the central bank and given it the constitutional and regulatory primacy over all matters concerning the formulation and implementation of monetary policy directed to economic objectives of achieving and maintaining economic stability for the Republic of Uganda and on behalf of the government of Uganda. Now, Article 162, subsection 2 of the Constitution clearly protects the Bank of Uganda from being subject to direction or control of any person or authority in performing its functions. Therefore, any legislative or administrative action that introduces parallel oversight or restricts the operational independence of the Bank of Uganda risks contravening these constitutional provisions and undermining the legal and institutional framework for the financial sector governance. And Chair, in addition, with respect to matters concerning financial institutions, the Financial Institutions Act takes precedence over any enactment, and in case of conflict, it shall prevail. So that's the basis on which we are going to make our technical assessment. Now, we also note that for the avoidance of any doubt, Bank of Uganda is established to protect the national sovereignty from foreign interference as enshrined in section in Part 4 of the Bank of Uganda Act. And here I was saying, however, while protecting that national sovereignty is a paramount constitutional objective, the financial system's technical architecture must remain shielded from regulatory fragmentation. This assessment argues that the bill in its current form risks introducing regulatory fragmentation and subjecting this economy to voluntary shocks, potentially undermining the very economic strength upon which true national sovereignty is built. Now, Chair, let me look at the technical review of the legislative provision and the regulatory alignment. Here, I'm going to look at what are the core principles and the key provisions that we are going to address. Now, the bill designates the Department of Peace and Security in the Ministry of Internal Affairs as the central regulator for agents of foreigners. Its primary technical mechanisms include, in Clause 1, expansive definition, where an agent of a foreigner is defined, and then it also introduces the cabinet gatekeeping under Clause 6, which prohibits any agents of a foreigner from performing the functions or the services for which government is responsible. And then the other one is to do with the mandatory registration, which is in clause number 14, that requires entities to register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and obtain a certificate valid for 2 years. And then there is another clause, 22, which is foreign funding restrictions, that imposes a cap of 400 million shillings, that is 20,000 currency points. And then the other clause, 23, subsection 3, the vicarious liabilities, the penalties. And then clause number 25, the enforcement via financial institutions, which prohibits banks from paying out funds to foreign agents without verifying ministerial authorization, and the civil penalty of 4 billion Uganda shillings for non-compliance. And then, Chairman, the one that concerns us is economic sabotage, which is clause number 13, which criminalizes the publication of information that weakens or damages the economic system and is punishable by up to 20 years in prison. So, we are now going to go through clause by clause technical assessment. Here we are noting the key conflicts between the bill's provisions and the existing financial regulatory framework as highlighted in the table below. So we cite the clause, the key issue, the conflict, and our recommendation for refinement. The first one is defining what an agent of a foreigner is. The key issue is that this bill has broadly defined it. It captures even own fintechs, Uganda's abroad, and then the conflict with the existing framework is that it overlaps with the Bank of Uganda prudential supervision under the Financial Institutions Act 2004. So what are we recommending as a refinement? We think that we should exempt supervised financial institutions licensed by Bank of Uganda, Capital Markets Authority, or development finance institutions from this provision. And then the registration requirement, the dual licensing of SFIs must, where they say that SFIs must register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We think that this is creating regulatory arbitrage. So we are proposing as a refinement, we carve out a carve out for the supervised financial institutions, licensed and supervised by Bank of Uganda. And then clause number 16, the suitability inquiries. And here, the provision of mental, fiscal, and health checks for directors, that's what is in the bill. We think that it does exceed Bank of Uganda's fit and proper standards, which may deter qualified professionals. So we want to align it to Bank of Uganda's framework and or remove the health inquiries. Now, the rest, in the interest of time, can be read. But let me now look at the interaction and conflicts with existing frameworks, the parallel regulatory regime that overlaps with the established mandates, creating dual licensing. The first one is constitutional. Article 162 of the Constitution, which mandates Bank of Uganda to promote development and maintain independence. Now, if you interact with the bill introduces ministerial oversight that conflicts with the Bank of Uganda's exclusive mandate. And then the Financial Institutions Act 2004, the prudential supervision of fit and proper vetting. Clause number 14 creates a dual licensing. It also introduces overlapping suitability in clause number 16. And in the national payment systems Act 2020, the oversight of cross-border transfers and payments providers is a core function and mandate of the central bank. But what this bill is now proposing that under clause 25, it imposes gatekeeping duties and a 4 billion civil penalty on the providers. And then the Anti-Money Laundering Act, the source of funds and violations reporting are all covered under the Financial Intelligence Authority. But clause number 21 creates a parallel reporting channel, public inspection of declaration, which violates the banking secrecy. And then the other one is to do with the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which restricts contribution from foreign sources to political parties to 20,000 currency points within the period of 12 months, and so it also prohibits political parties from demanding equivalent of 200,000 currency points. So we are seeing that the interaction with the proposed bill is that Section 13 has similar restrictions as introduced in the proposed bill, which are only limited to political parties. Now, Chair, let me go to the most important aspect of our presentation. That is, what are the comprehensive assessments of this bill? Chairman, let me be very clear from the outset. This bill is about cross-border payments. And cross-border payments is about the balance of payments, because the balance of payments is a comprehensive record of all economic transactions between a country's residents and the rest of the world over a given period of time. It tracks the inflows and outflows of money from trade in goods, services, and financial assets. The balance of payments is divided into current account balance and the financial account, and of course the capital account. Now, what is the case of Uganda? The case of Uganda is that the current account balance has always been in the negative because our imports are far much greater than exports. So how do we close this? Is through financial flows. Financial flows into the financial account. And where these financial flows exceed the deficit in the current account, that's how we build reserves. Now, what is this bill doing? This bill is bringing restrictions into cross-border transactions, meaning that it is bringing restrictions on the inflows to this country. And we run a risk of reducing substantially the inflows into Uganda. And if we reduce these inflows into Uganda, it means that our current account is deficit is even going to widen. And with the restrictions, there will be limited inflows in the financial account, which is going to make it very difficult for us to finance the widening current account balance. So how then does the balance of payments balance? We are going to have a substantial depreciation of the currency, because you need to make imports more expensive in order to equate imports to exports. So this is the main risk of this bill. And also, it means that our capacity to build reserves, because now the flows in the financial account are reducing, we won't have an excess of financial flows in the financial account over the current account balance to build reserves. And Chairman, a country without reserves is not sovereign. So, the most important thing is, how do we deal with this? If you look at, for example, what is being proposed, the potential of this bill to destabilize Uganda's balance of payments is our primary concern as a central bank, because it affects cross-border flows. For example, last financial year, the overall balance of payment surplus was 1.5 billion, meaning that the financial inflows in the financial account were in excess of the deficit in the current account balance by 1.5 billion. And that's how we were able to increase our reserve coverage by 1.5. Today, as we talk, our reserves are close to $6 billion. Why? because these inflows have been coming in. The moment you tamper with these inflows here, we risk running down our reserves, and that is economic disaster for a country. So these inflows were driven by foreign direct investment of 3.4 billion, portfolio investments of 2.1 billion. Remittances, we are now requiring that remittances, if there's a Ugandan in the diaspora, he's a foreigner by the definition of this bill. And anybody who receives these remittances in excess of 400 million is an agent of a foreigner. He has to be registered by the Minister of Internal Affairs. Honorable members of Parliament, for remittances that are sustaining the livelihoods of Ugandans, we are likely to see even a reduction in the remittances. I don't know what the diaspora people told you, but this is likely to come down. Last year we got remittances of 1.5 billion. And so it means that we are going to have pressure on our currency. And then the most striking thing also is, if you look at our securities market, government of Uganda is undertaking significant borrowing to finance its budget. And if you look at the holding of government of Uganda securities by non-residents, by these foreigners, they are holding to close to about $3 billion, which is about 12% of the securities that have been issued are held by this. And going by the definition in this bill, where ministerial approval for the threshold is acting as a capital control, experience in other jurisdictions shows that it leads to immediate exit of the offshore investors. And when they exit, it means that we cannot fully finance our deficit through borrowing. And if we are going to finance, it's going to be through very high interest rates. And as they exit, it will have impact on our currency. And then the other issue is clause number 13 about economic sabotage, that at the publication or anything that causes the weakening of a system is qualified as economic sabotage. Now, Uganda's debt servicing is currently about 50% of government revenue. By criminalizing economic research that identifies fiscal instability, as in clause number 13, the bill destroys what we call price discovery. Because if I'm an investor, I need to look at all the information about an economy, then I price based on that information. So when I don't have that information, because we don't have, the bill has said don't publish anything that weakens the system. What do I do if I'm an investor? I'm going to put what I call uncertainty premium, all right? So that if I had discounted for the fiscal instability or because of the high fiscal deficit into my pricing initially, now I don't have that information. I'm going to put uncertainty premium. So if I was bidding for a 25-year bond at 17%, I'm going to end up bidding at 20%, just in case I've got it wrong. Why? Because I don't have information. Markets rely on information, a wide array of information to do their pricing. So clause number 13 in our view is going to distort price discovery. And then also, when we publish a report about maybe inflation is projected to rise or the currency may depreciate, so we need to tighten monetary policy to do that. Now, if tightening of monetary policy leads to lower credit growth and the economy weakens, will I be charged with economic sabotage? Then the other issue is financial sector, de-risking and operational paralysis. The